From pirate to customer. I will admit, most of my life I've been a pirate, pirating media since I was around 7 years old. And I'm sure most people can admit to pirating a good amount of content in their lifetime, regardless of whether they were realizing it or not. But for once, I feel like piracy is actually being combated, and in a good way, through good measures. A lot of people think that piracy has been on the decline over the last few years because of measures such as blocking torrent sites. But let's be honest, if we really want something for free, we're just gonna find a way. So, while slightly effective, this method has proved pretty redundant, not to mention it just pisses people off even more. I mean, how much does it piss you off that the government is just consistently trying to censor the internet? Well, that's beside the point. So what's actually worked? Well, I'm going to take you through my sort of lifetime of media and how I've slowly stopped pirating, or in certain cases not stopped pirating, due to certain companies taking a step in the right direction. Let's start with music. Undoubtedly one of the most pirated forms of media back in the day, thanks to services such as like YouTube to MP3 and the all famous LimeWire. It's now become one of the least pirated. But why is this? It's mostly due to the rise of Spotify, and as a result, other competitors such as Google Play All Access, Deezer, Amazon Prime Music, and a hell of a lot more. I'd say music is one that I've probably torrented a lot, but I had somewhat of a justification. I listen to a lot of bands, like I have over 100 artists in my music library right now, and this includes the whole discographies or greatest hits for most of these artists. If I hadn't pirated all this music when I was younger, and gotten so attached to such a plethora of bands that I had free access to, I wouldn't have spent so much money on things such as merchandise and concert tickets. And I have spent well over £500, $700 for those who can't convert, and that's just been over the past 2 years. That's a hell of a lot more money than if I had just bought CDs, which artists only get like $1 per $10 made. So what was the point anyways? Hell, former drummer for Nirvana and Foo Fighters' lead singer Dave Grohl once said something along the lines of, "I don't care how people are getting my music as long as they're listening." Now, eventually I got to a point where downloading all this music and having to upload to my Google Play Music account only to realize I forgot to include that one album and having to go through the whole process again was just a bit tedious. On top of this, making party playlists was a huge fucking hassle, because I had to download shitty songs that other people liked, and then upload them and keep them in my library until said party was over. So I decided to try out Spotify Premium, as they had a $1 for 3 months deal going on, because there was a huge party coming up, and I was just far too lazy to download these shitty songs. I then found myself actually using Spotify as my primary music player within a week. I could add songs to playlists without having them in my library. I could listen to a song on my phone, then pick up where I left on my desktop. I would get recommendations for other really good bands based on my listening. I could add an artist's entire discography to my library in less than a few seconds. I could see what my friends were listening to and listen to it myself if it looked interesting. I found some songs on Spotify that I could never find on torrent sites previously. At this point, forking over the monthly fee didn't seem nearly as bad anymore, and I was willing to pay for a service which would provide me things that piracy could just never provide me. I wasn't guilt-tripped into paying for music out of ethical or moral reasons, because I had justifiable reasons for pirating my music. And I haven't pirated a song since. Next, let's talk about games. Games aren't nearly as big of an issue nowadays in terms of piracy as much as they once were. When I was younger, I owned a PS1 and a PS2. I would purchase the majority of games during my annual visits to Pakistan, because games were roughly $1 each, because they were all just pirated bootleg DVDs. Same thing happened when I bought a Nintendo Wii. Issues creeped up when I bought my PS3, however. I couldn't just simply buy my games from Pakistan or download them from the internet and burn them on a DVD. I had to actually fork out the money. But I was willing to do this. I mean, if I could afford the console, I could afford the games, right? They were only about £30, which is roughly $50. That's about 10% of the cost of the actual console itself. So I was fine with legally purchasing games for my PS3, that wasn't a problem. Now, I've always been a PC gamer alongside my consoles. During my time with my PC, if I ever opted to buy a game for my PS3 rather than pirating it for my PC, was because I could play online for free with friends that weren't PC players, or for trophies. I absolutely fucking loved getting trophies. Or playing with the controller, because the PS3 controller at the time had pretty shitty PC support, and Bluetooth adapters weren't really a thing back then. Or for local split-screen multiplayer, which to this day isn't really a thing on PC gaming. Like with Spotify, I had a service that provided me reasons to pay for my games. The issues started to appear when I purchased my PS4. Launch titles at this point are now upwards of £50, which is roughly $75, which is nearly 25% of what I paid for the console. Not to mention, If I were to buy a game, to be able to play online with it with my friends, I had to fork out a yearly fee for PlayStation Plus, and that costs just as much as a whole brand new game. Local split-screen multiplayer at this point is now redundant, as we're all just playing online, and controller support on PC is absolutely fucking fantastic. At this point, there was no question of PC or PS4. I would usually opt for my games on my PC, and so I sold my PS4 and began gaming exclusively on the PC. I think this is one area I still struggle with though when it comes to piracy, as even on PC AAA titles are still in the £30–50 range, and as someone who doesn't really play games nearly as much as they used to, I just don't feel like it's worth it, and these companies are making billions of dollars anyways, so it's not like they care or notice. It's not that justifiable of a reason, but whatever. When it comes to small indie companies, however, I will make sure to actually purchase the game, and I also tend to buy humble bundles as often as possible. TV and movies. This is a really 50-50 one for me, but I feel for, most consumers, this has, gone really well in terms of decreasing piracy. My household currently has a Netflix subscription, like a lot of people do, and for most people, that's enough. That's fine. And as a result of having an Amazon Prime account, we also have Amazon Prime Video as well, which is pretty useless, but the main question is, why do we still pirate all of our TV and video and upload it to a central server set up with Plex to stream across our entire house, and to devices outside the house even? Well, for one thing, I just got a thing with collecting TV shows and movies. I don't have that thing with music, I don't know why. I'd say I'm more attached to music in general than I am with TV shows and movies, but collecting TV shows and movies is just a thing for me. I've always had an external hard drive dedicated to TV shows and movies, so I've been collecting these for years, and, I don't really feel like wasting them. I don't know what it is, but my collection just really holds dear to me. But I think the main problem is that Netflix releases TV shows when a season is finished, whereas I don't have to wait for an entire season to finish to watch it. I can just pirate an episode as soon as it comes out, and all is well. Not to mention, through some DNS tweaking, I'm able to access the US version of Netflix, and even that collection feels limited to me. God knows how I'd feel if I only had the UK version of Netflix, like I should, because from what I've heard, unless you have US Netflix, it's just utterly shit. Is pirating my TV shows and movies justifiable because I'm paying for not one, but 2 streaming services? And on top of this, go to the cinema for new releases? I don't know. I don't really have much to say here, unfortunately. And finally, the fucking bane of my life, sports. Sports is a very, very tricky one, in the UK anyway. Things are probably different in the US, but I'm going to be speaking from my perspective. Now, I follow WWE and the UFC. My dad follows cricket, and we both follow football. That's real football, by the way, not American football. A subscription to sports channels here in the UK costs £30 a month roughly with Sky. That's last I knew anyways. That's about £360 a year. That's enough to buy 2 under 18 kids season tickets for their favourite fucking football team. And that subscription doesn't even cover pay-per-view fights from WWE or UFC, which are about £20 per event. Or in the US, $60 per event for some reason. That's more than enough to buy front row seats to a WWE show every year. Now, the shining light is that WWE in 2014 opened the WWE Network, an over-the-top, all-access demand streaming service for just $9.99 a month. This service not only just allowed me to stream WWE pay-per-view events live on any device in my house, but also at pretty much every past event on demand and original shows. It was truly a dream come true that I couldn't really get the same experience from just pirating. If the UFC can pull off something similar, then fighting-wise, I'm completely sorted with my sports. The problem arises when it comes to football and cricket. There's no way around it for us, except using pirated streams. And the free ones are so fucking bad, we're actually paying $9.99 a month for pirated streams. We're paying money for pirated streams. Why is this? Why aren't we willing to shell out the extra $20 a month for a legit, high-quality, reliable subscription that we obviously can afford? I think the main problem here, and that's one that WWE managed to solve really well, is accessibility. If we subscribe to our sports through Sky, we can only watch sports on the TV downstairs and 2 other devices. This 2-device limit was fucking horrible, because I alone own 3 devices on which I'd like to watch sports on. Throw in my dad, who also has another 3 devices, and this results in us only being able to use 33% of our devices for sports. With our pirated streams, we can just watch on any device we like with no fuss, at the same time. Accessibility really needs to be addressed way more than price when it comes to sports, because shelling out the cost is something that can be managed, but watching on other devices, that's all on their end. So that's pretty much all I have to say on this topic. I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot of opinions like you did for the smartphone thickness discussion. So I'd love for another huge discussion like we had on that video, because that was really fun. So feel free to drop a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, of course, leave a like. And if you want to stay updated for future videos, hit that subscribe button. Have a fantastically brilliant day, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.